Well, since Paul George has made it clear he wants to play in Los Angeles, Paul George only has a one-year contract. Jimmy Butler, I think, has 2 years left on his contract. He's already been in consultation with LeBron and Kyrie Irving. I think without question, Jimmy Butler seems to want to be there, will be there perhaps longer than Paul George or committed initially more than Paul George. Jimmy Butler's the better fit.
I think Paul George is the better fit as a player, better pure shooter. I don't know who LeBron would rather play with. I think it's Paul George. But if I'm Dan Gilbert and I think to myself, I'm 90% sure LeBron stays. Mm-hmm. But if there's a 10% chance LeBron leaves and then Paul George leaves, I'm stuck with Kyrie Irving. If I bring in, but here, my point is, I think LeBron wants Paul, and I think Gilbert wants Butler. Because I think Butler protects him. Oh, yeah. That if LeBron bolts, well, I got Kyrie and Jimmy Butler. We're probably still the first or second best team in the East.
Yeah.
Who does LeBron want to play with?
The Cavs are pretty confident that if they get Paul George, he would stay. Because you're going to the finals, you may win it. Even if you lose a tough series, it's tough to leave that to go to what may be a lottery team with the Lakers. But for your reasons, you're right. I mean, Jimmy Butler, contract-wise, so on and so forth, is a better fit.
For the long term,
player-wise, I'd rather have Paul. Because if you have to give up Kevin Love to get Butler, Butler's not replacing the rebounding for Love like George, because George wouldn't rebound as much as Love, but he's certainly a better rebounder.
He's longer.
He's longer, but the intangibles, too. Now, again, I think we talked about this. No matter who they bring in, I think they would have to change the offense a little bit more for Paul George than they would for Jimmy Butler. Because there's some things that Jimmy Butler can do, I think, that can fit within the framework of what Kyrie and LeBron do as far as dominating the ball. With Paul George, he's going to need some guidance in regards to kind of playing without the basketball, but talent-wise, size-wise, he's a little bit taller than Butler is. He's longer, rangier defensively. So that gives you something when you're playing against Golden State to be able to match up against a Kevin Durant in a 7-game series, to be able to give him problems that I don't think Jimmy Butler will look at. And Colin, to your point, having that multi-year deal still in place, having some success a little bit may make, Dan Gilbert look at it long-term a little bit more. But the ultimate thing is, who can they get and what makes sense?
Paul George, I think, has a better sense of who he is. So Paul's been a star, and he's gone against LeBron, and he knows his place in the world. He's not LeBron, and probably knows he'd have to share the ball a lot. Jimmy Butler, to me, feels like needs to sow some NBA oats. Mm-hmm. Like he's still, Greg Popovich always says, we draft people in San Antonio that are over themselves. Like, if you're not over yourself, we're not drafting you. That's why they like Kyrie. Or Kawhi, excuse me. Yeah. I kind of think Jimmy Butler's not over himself.
You know what would be interesting, and Chris, you could probably speak to this best. Remember Joakim Noah was talking, Hollywood is hell, talking about...
Yeah.
Jimmy Butler would add to that. Hollywood is hell. He might be a bit of a drama king.
That's one of the complaints in Chicago is that once he became a star... Remember, this is a guy that wasn't even a star in high school, let alone college or early in the pros. He became Hollywood once he became a star. And the Bulls just don't know that he's that leader that you build around. That's why he's even on the trade block.
But how would that dynamic, adding that to Cleveland, play? You got Tristan Thompson dating a Kardashian.
You got A.R. Smith and all his stuff.
Yeah, you got Noah. I mean, already, LeBron's Hollywood as hell. Yeah. Is that a good match personality?
Well, it just depends, because I think the thing here with Butler is that when you come into a situation that gets thrown at you, now you're the man, you don't know how to react to that, because you're going to make some decisions based on what you think you know about how to be the man. It's not just being the man on the court. Being the guy means everything involved in the organization and how you lead. I think one thing he can learn, because he didn't have this from Derrick Rose, he has LeBron as a barometer on how you handle and navigate through all of this. So that could be a benefit to Butler once he gets in there, because if nothing else, he's going to be able to respect what he's seen from LeBron, and LeBron being in his ear saying, listen, you can do A, B, C, and D, but we need you to be here to do this, and this is how we can all benefit. So I think he does have that.
If you could get either one, George or Butler, who would you
I'll get Paul George.
You get George.
I'll get Paul George.
I just think if you get Butler, who are you getting to replace Kevin Love?
You're not. Paul George
That's
is
a
much better in the
small
pick and
team.
pop. I mean, you know what I mean?
He spreads the floor
It spreads
better.
the floor better, yeah.